Hey guys! So recently I've met Vishy Anand, the legend, the Madras Tiger, in person at a tournament at the World Teams Rapid and Blitz event in Astana, Kazakhstan this summer. And we spoke a little bit, exchanged contact information, and I hope I will make it happen, a podcast with the legend. Drop a comment if you want it. And that's how I thought I'd play against Vishy Anand. At the end of the podcast, I usually play against my guests, but not like this. I played against Vishy Anand with 60,000 other people, breaking the world Guinness record. Because chess.com organized this event where Vishy Anand played against the world. 60,000 people voted for moves to be made against him, and each side was given 24 hours per move, and this was cruel. This was cruel. Anand is unstoppable. He's a very versatile player. Obviously, one of the strongest in the history of chess. But especially as an attacker, he is like unstoppable. Let's analyze this game because it's very instructive. It was a demolition, guys. So Anand opens up with c4. e5, and the game ended just yesterday, so this is like fresh stuff. Before that, I think like around 25 years ago, Garry Kasparov played a similar match against the world, and he won. Let's see how Anand fared. So this is the English opening. This is all standard theory. One of the main lines, 4 knights variation. g3, white prepares to put the bishop on g2. Bishop b4 is one of the moves, but there are many other moves. There is d5, for example, and sometimes bishop is put on c5, but we will not go into details here. Bishop g2, castles is one of the moves. So up until that moment, the world votes for sensible moves. Knight d5 is one of the moves, and here e4 is the most principled response, kicking this knight. And the knight has no d4 or e5 square because our knight controls it, so it has to go to an somewhat awkward h4 square, and it's almost trapped because this square is taken by the pawn, this square is also taken, this square is taken, but there is the f5 square. So if you go g5 trying to catch the knight here on the rim, knight f5 is thrown and white is dominating. So because of this, g5 is not played here, but rather, usually people play d6 here. I don't usually play the English opening with white, but I used to when I was a kid, so I remember something along these lines. So here, there are many moves for white, but Anand chooses a provocative castles. The engine even doesn't like it, says that it's an inaccuracy. Because now, black can go g5, and the knight has no squares, because this is here controlled now by the bishop, and all other squares are controlled. But when I voted, I was participating in this game. I did not vote for every move, but I participated at some point every day, checking what Anand did and trying to help my fellow chess.com users. So I really didn't want to go g5 here, even though the engine thinks it's the best move, because d4, for example, it's not the only move, but it's the best one according to the engine. And if we take the knight, then bishop g5 pins the knight, and we lose the material back, and we have a very weak king, and it's a losing position already. So we cannot take here. We can go h6, which is the best move, strengthening this pawn and this square. And now we want to take, but even this is too crazy. I did not analyze this in too much detail. I just look at this position and thought that Vishy wants us to do this. I don't want to go g5. Now looking at this with the engine, I see that this is one of the lines. Knight takes, f3, putting pressure on e4. And if we take here, then the bishop takes here, the rook is hanging, and yeah, this is crazy. Rook e8 is not good, apparently, queen d2. And the knight is hit, and this is threatened. So already white is attacking, and it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant to find good moves. e3 is good here to just sack this pawn. because this is cutting the circulation in the white's position, but it's very complicated, extremely complicated. So I thought here that g5 is what Vishy wants us to do, and I voted for some different move. I don't remember. I think I voted for rook e8. This is exactly what the world chose. Apparently, this is an inaccuracy. g5 is better according to the engine, but practically speaking, I think this is a better choice against the Madras Tiger. So b3, he insists that we should play g5. And I don't think that I voted for g5. I voted for some other move. But the world decided to like come and get him. g5, attacking the knight is strapped, and what can you do with white? What's the idea of the chess genius that Viswanathan Anand is? So bishop b2, first of all, puts pressure on this knight. It's attacked 2 times, defended just once. So we have to takes. Now our knight is hanging, but we can jump in forward. Also, this diagonal is now not entirely controlled by white. And f4, this is Vishy's idea. So if we take en passant, then the knight escapes. And white has a great position because this is the open file for the rook. This is the diagonal for the bishop. The g pawn is not well placed on g5. There is a crushing attack. So of course, en passant is not forced here, contrary to what many believe. And we can take the knight finally. Why did we go g5? To take this h4 knight, annoying knight on h4. And yes, we give up our knight, but we take with the pawn, and we have a strong center by pawns. Maybe we can attack further down the line, and the position is very double-edged, very, very double-edged. Here, Vishy goes e3, and the world goes queen takes d5. This is, I think, where I didn't participate. I'm not saying this to absolve myself of like guilt. I had a tournament. I had the recaps on my channel every day. I made recaps. I played in the tournament, so I didn't have the time to follow the game. And this is exactly where the world made a mistake. So maybe it's just a coincidence. Probably it is. So I'm not sure if I would have chosen a different move. Queen d5 looks very logical. But apparently it's not good. Queen g5 is the best. Maybe I would have chosen actually queen g5. It looks more like in the spirit of the position to try to put pressure. Because queen takes d5 is a mistake due to the fact that now queen loses contact with the king side. And white can launch a devastating attack. And after this just one mistake, Vishy is winning. So this is all he needed. To take the world into unknown territory, make the world make a mistake, because not everyone who is voting for moves is a strong player, and probably some people analyze with engines. I'm not sure if it's allowed in such games. I didn't use engine during these games, but since it's a correspondence game, maybe it's allowed even to use engines, but I doubt that many people like analyzed with or without engines. Most of them were just like, okay, this looks like a pawn. I can take a pawn. Let's take a pawn. I think that was the motivation for most people. But you should not your queen should be here somewhere, both attacking the enemy's king and defending your king, because after queen takes d5, your king is naked. It has no defenders. Opponent's pieces are looking at it, and they are hungry and they are angry. And queen h5 is very timely, putting pressure on f7 potentially. So there is already a threat of bishop takes e4, and if queen takes, queen is no longer guarding f7, and this is like destruction. And black doesn't have enough pieces developed. This rook is still not developed on a8. This bishop is still not developed on c8. So even though we are up 2 pawns, we are losing. So this pawn was poisonous. And here the world makes another mistake, but already, like the engine says, it's +3 already. Rook e7 is the best move, desperately trying to hold on, and even this is losing. So the world takes another pawn. If you if you decided to go pawn grabbing, why not take it to the extreme? But it's even worth. Now the world is completely lost because queen g5 check, king runs. Now rook d1 pins this bishop. Now there is a threat of winning this bishop with moves like bishop c3, for example, using this pin. So black drops back. out of the pin, and here many moves win for white, but Vishy chooses one of the most violent options. He checks us, and he sacrifices the rook. Rook takes f7. So instant replay. This is a pawn, this is a rook. The pawn is guarded by the king, but still it's hopeless, because if we take it, this is what we did. The world, what the world did. The world will get checkmated if the world takes. The best move according to the engine is to give up the bishop with check, and after queen takes, again, not to take this rook, but to desperately try and go into an endgame to not get mated. But even this is, of course, losing, because takes, rook takes, and white has 2 bishops, and black has just 1, and white is winning. Extra piece. Easy conversion for the world chess champion and the legend of the game. So, of course, bishop takes e3 check would be a cunning attempt to prolong the agony, but the world decided to take the rook. Around this moment was where I remembered that the world is playing against Vishy Anand. I decided to Google the game, how are my fellow players like faring, and I was disgusted by this position, because it's move 19 and we are already getting checkmated. Check, check, and there is a forced mate in 3. King here, check. Now this bishop finally joins the action, and there are no moves for the king. The only move is to block, but then check. And rook f8 seals the deal. This is a brutal checkmate in 24 moves, and Vishy Anand proves that he's still very strong. He's still, I think, top 10 in the world in classical. An extremely sharp player who is not to be messed with. Drop a comment if you want a podcast episode with Anand, and see you in the next one.